why all my clients trust me.
Okay. Look, I'm gonna just have to make a call to the royal attaché just to confirm that everything is okay.
No. This has to remain a secret. I cannot risk this information going out to the royal bodyguard. Listen here. Please allow me to reimburse you for all the inconveniences I've caused you and your company.
Mr. Nhlap, look, I would really love to help you. But our relationship is based on trust. And if you're not gonna let me corroborate the story with the royal attaché, I'm afraid I cannot help you.
Understood. I would have reacted the same.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Exposure Hour. I'm your host, Nandipa_J, and on today's episode, we have a special guest. Well, I don't even know who the special guest is because I'm also, but yeah.
For love, did it for love, yeah. For love, yeah. Did it for love, yeah. Did it for love, yeah. For love, yeah. Did it for love, yeah. For love, did it for love, yeah. For love, did it for love,
Sawona, Njani, Ngiyaphila. Besacela usintroduce it.
All right. Igama lam u-Edi Wagamariba. Yeah, I'm a pastor. I would call myself an aspiring actor. And yeah, I'm a father, brother,
Son.
son.
Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your background? How you grew up?
Okay. I'm original from Limpopo, event. Yeah, I grew up under two parents, Mama and Baba, both from Venda, so I'm 100% Venda. Yes. Yeah, but I grew up like a Gauteng, a Goli. I grew up at Devton. I spent my whole life there. I'm still there even now. So yeah, that's where I grew up, and probably that's why I'm able to speak most ama-languages waselokishini, isiZulu, Sotho, isikole bengifunda kuso bekukhulunywa isiShangane. So that's how I learned Tsonga as well. Then later in high school I went to a multiracial school, Epinon, Wordsworth, Shannon. Yeah, that's where I finished my school, Shannon Binon. It's also a Christian school. So I think another thing is that I grew up under the Christian values. Maybe that's how I became a pastor, I don't know. But yeah, that's what happened. And I did theology at school as well. Studied the Bible. I also did some business related studies like business management and so forth.
Oh, so you like corporates?
Yeah, even now I'm still interested in that. Yes, I did work at Kempton Park for some time before I started acting and so forth. I've got a son, King. He's 10 years now. It's actually his birthday next month.
That's
doing
cute.
11 years, yes. So in a nutshell, yeah, that's me. Yes.
How did you know ukuthi une passion yokuba upastor?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know. I think it's one of those things where it's a calling, they call it. It's a calling, and you don't plan sometimes these things, and you just find yourself in that environment. Both my parents have a pastoral background, so they were pastors, so I grew up in that environment. In fact, at some point I didn't even like church. That's how much I did church from the day in Zala. My parents have always been church goers. So
Bayasho bathi abantwana bama pastors kids
yes. So baze bathi khona this saying ethi umfundisi akamzali umfundisi. Yes. So from at one point I thought it was true actually, because now I was not too interested in church things. But it took a turn nje, unexpectedly.
How old were you?
I would say in my 30s.
Really?
Yeah, in my early 30s. That's when I became not really interested, but when I did it, people liked what I did, and I got invites. I think that's how it began. Esontweni I would ask to do certain things in terms of the church program, like to open a verse, motivational talk, something like that, and people will enjoy that. And not only that, then I think what really took off for me in terms of pastoring is when people started inviting me in other settings. They say, no, sikuzwile esontweni ukhuluma, can you come and talk at our youth event? Can you come to our church and be a guest speaker? Then I realized, well, people like it, you know.
Didn't
not?
it make you nervous?
It did.
Stage fright?
Even today, you never get used to it. But at some point, I realized, Guti, it is indeed a calling, because right now, not only am I pastoring a church, but I'm a Bible school lecturer. So I lecture. Actually a teacher in the calling. Most people might not understand that, but remember, go pastoring, there's different departments. Some people call themselves prophets, some apostles. I'm just plain a teacher. It's an unusual title, but it's there in the Bible when we talk about the fivefold ministry, when we talk about the apostle, the teacher, the evangelist, the pastor, there's a teacher there. That's what I associate myself with. So I even teach people that want to study the Bible. Yes, I teach theology.
How is that teaching?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I have to tell you, it's if you come to one of my classes, you then will realize what, yeah, that's how I realize what it's a calling. People that enroll, even though it's open for everyone, but largely the majority are abafundis.
Oh, so it's not like a kids class? Or...
No, it's not like it's a Bible training college. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yes, I think one of my oldest students was 83. 83 years. That's one of my oldest students. So because it's largely Abantu who want to study the word, who also have a calling in pastoring, they come to just to teach themselves and to learn more about God and about the word of God. So yeah, I teach a lot of pastors as well. So that's where it really gets serious, because you know the caliber of people that I have to deal with in class. Most of them are older than me and abafundisi, but the fact that they keep coming back, I think one of the reasons, one of the ways that you realize that you are doing the right thing, there's this thing ukuthi if sikuphatheka wasivakashela sibona ukuthi ungasaphinde ubuye. Yeah, but I've been teaching theology. Into emnandi yaphinde. So I don't force it, but the reason I'm comfortable with it's a gift is because it's kind of forced on me. I mean, one of my classes is in Mpumalanga. I have to travel to Mpumalanga at least twice a month to go and teach there. I have students above 30 in terms of the number, 30 students in one class. And I graduated at the end of the year. The following year, they are the ones that call me to say, we've got new student, can you come through? And I think it's one of those, when we say it's a calling, it depends, Uti. If you force yourself into something, then maybe it's not so much of a calling. But if that thing pull in, then you know what it's a calling. When people enjoy it, when people like it, when people invite you for more. I think that's probably how challenges, whether what you do it's your calling or not, whether it's music, it's poetry, whatever it is. Yeah.
How is it like teaching older people? Like, is it not frustrating? Because many believe maybe this, and then the other one is believing the other thing, and now you have to.
It's tricky. It's not easy. I guess it's easy if it is something that it's in you. I keep using the word calling, but if it's something that it's in you, it becomes natural. I can say it like that. And with unlike maybe other things, I don't know how to put it, but for me, because I'm doing it for someone else, God in this case, He called me to do this thing. It's whatever frustrations or whatever challenges, the one that sent me with a purpose, and obviously they've got that in mind to say there will be challenges, and the calling comes with solutions to those challenges. So I become very comfortable even in an environment that might be uncomfortable, because I know what I'm not doing it for myself. I'm not trying to prove a point. So it becomes natural. It's not even a question of am I successful or not. It's a question of, as long as I'm doing what I've been asked to do, then it becomes comfortable. It's almost like uthunyiwe. Khona lento ethi, there's this saying ethi isithunywa sinaqala. So you don't even, most thunywa, you don't even care ukuthi lo muntu othunywe kuyo uya-accepta lento oyilethile or not, because they will have to deal with the person okuthumile. They don't have to deal with you. So that's how I see my calling. Ukuthi uthunywe uNkulunkulu. If you don't take what I'm taking, you have to deal with your creator as well.
As long as wena ufikile wayisho into.
Okay. Yes. And interesting enough, there are people that it's not the ejwayelekile, but very rare. I do have people that may have disagreements with the teachings that I do. But I think I'm used to it now. Yes.
How do you handle it? How did you handle it? Because you said you're used to it now.
I think one of the ways that I handle it is that it depends. First of all, you have to study the person whom you are getting a rejection from or a challenge from, and to understand their point of view, so that you deal with the situation based on what is happening at that time. One of the things that I don't like to do is to be defensive, to try and prove myself right or anything like that. The other thing is that in a class settings, there's a number of students. So if konto wrong oyenzayo or oyikhulumile, it should be understood by the rest of the students if really you are in the wrong. If it's a one person that feels no, then it's questionable why are the other students not feeling the same way as you are doing. So I've had the privilege in terms of giving you a practical example of how I've dealt with it in the past, whereby maybe I would have someone in a settings where we are discussing and we are having disagreements. Then someone would say, I don't agree because of 1, 2, and 3, whereby I don't even have an opportunity to respond for myself. But because I've made the lessons I've laid the proof on the table, the other students have been able to voice, to say, no, but simzile ulecture ute. So based on, they are able to respond. It also helps me to realize, okay, maybe I'm going in the right direction, because if you teach someone correctly, they are able to respond correctly even in the future. You don't even have to respond it for yourself, because you've passed that information to another person. They can be able to use that information in the same way that you would use the information. So I've had scenarios whereby someone will say, but is this really how the word is supposed to be taught, or are you saying the right thing? And the student will say, no, this is how I understood it. And because someone is answering for me, it shows what the information is understood, the information is accepted as correct information, and that's how I've dealt with. And I don't know if I can add another point to that. The other thing that I've had frustrations with in the past was when mawenza into right, perfect, and you still get rejected. To such an extent ukuthi ungazi nokuthi manje mele wenzeni. That used to frustrate me. I'll give you an example. I used to teach certain principles or certain biblical teachings, and people would reject them. But I would go back, because the idea is to really teach the truth. It's not really to manipulate people or to make them believe what,
because most people believe that Christianity is a made up.
Yes, things like that. So the approach is that let's look for the truth, not necessarily what I'm teaching Christianity, I'm teaching the truth. If Christianity is the truth, then I'll teach Christianity. Not because I want to teach Christianity, but because I want to teach the truth. So when you are rejected, you realize, what did I say wrong? Or what is it from what I've said that does not make sense? Then you realize what you've said everything, but you're still getting rejected, and it gets frustrating because you've laid all the proof or the evidence with lenting you show you it's the correct thing, and I can't think of any other thing. So people would reject. So just to give you an example, I've had people doing those rejection. I would be frustrated. Even in my prayer life, I would ask God, why? Because I've done lento for 9 years. Then I only learned later on what people do, like I told you before, sometimes environment abafundis, people that already have a level of understanding of the word of God. So some of them, they don't think you can teach them much. Some of them are there for you to confirm what they've been teaching. As soon as you teach something that is opposite of what they've been teaching, then they become back reject. But then if it's the truth, it's the truth. You understand? It means you have to change your mind about what you thought was the truth in the past. So one of the examples, and this has now happened a couple of times over time, is that while I'm dealing with that rejection or even forget about it, the same topic can come up a year later in this maybe a similar environment or the same environment. And to my surprise, the very same person who a year ago was against what I was teaching is now teaching the same thing I was teaching. Then you realize, they understood you, but maybe because of pride or because of the position they held, because they didn't want to give those that were listening at the time the impression that they were wrong. They did not want to admit it. But going home and thinking about it or looking over it, then they realize, wait, this is the truth. But they don't come back to tell you. So when you say with this burden to say, but why didn't they accept the truth? And they did accept it. And a year later, the same environment, the same topic comes up, and this person now starts teaching the same thing you were teaching. And you realize, it means they really did accept what you were teaching. So I've had that scenario happening to me a couple of times, to such an extent that I've come to accept if it's the truth, even though it's rejected, it's important to get it out there to the person. It does not matter how they respond. So that's one of the ways I deal with, the challenges of the teachings that we do, because not everyone will accept it, and some people will reject it. But as long as you are confident with what you've said is the truth, it is the correct thing, it is based on the word of God, then you kind of relax now that you know. Then that's how I really deal with such situations as well.
Do you think you didn't accept your gift at first, maybe because your parents are pastors and you felt maybe pressured, or mawuyithola vele lesipho sakho uvele wabona ukuthi no, this is my calling?
I think it was slow progression yayo, so it's not like it came ngesikhathi C1. So I wouldn't say at first I rejected it. At first I was doing it because I was having fun in doing it, but as time goes on, but it was slow progression. No, this is really what you've been called to do. So by the time it got serious, I had already had a certain level of understanding what, you know, this is what I've been called to do. And, you know, I think I had also reached a level where I was actually enjoying doing it. And my calling is a little bit different to, you know, your standard pastoring. You know, it's in the teaching lane as opposed to prophetic and you know, apostolic level. But I'm just a teacher of the word. So what I actually do is to open the scripture and make you understand what the different verses are saying. So it's a little bit different. So when I was ordained, I think it was 2015 when I was officially ordained by my church as a pastor. Yeah, by that time I had already accepted Oguti. No, I have the calling, I have to accept it. And I was already doing a lot of work in terms of in Salt and so forth. I was really involved by then.
How did you gravitate between pastor and an actor? Like from pastor to being an actor? How did that happen?
Yeah, again, just as much as it was something that was not planned in the pastoring, I can say the same was the case in terms of acting. I think I started getting introduced to it in 2018 when I lost my job. I used to have a 9 to 5 job. Then I was retrenched. Then one of the members of the church who was involved in acting introduced me to acting. Says, you've got a lot of free time, why not try this? So number one, it was not planned. Then yeah, it just came as a random thing, and I started it then, and there was no pressure because it's not like I grew up saying I wanted to be on TV or to be an actor or anything like that. So when it happened, it was something that was like I always say it was like a hobby. Even today, I still call it a hobby. So that's how I got introduced to it. And yeah, since then, I've made quite a number of appearances. I can say I'm still new to that party acting. So it's still it's fairly early days for me, but you know, again, you never know where it can take you.
How is it? What is it like being an actor? Because I told my dad this before. I was like, "Nami ngizo actor, ngizovela TV," and he was like, "Mm-mm."
I found it not as difficult as I thought it was. There is a level of challenges that comes with it, but at the same time, once you learn, you know, the tricks of the trade, then you realize it's not that difficult. But I can say it wouldn't be difficult, again, just like with my pastoring field. If it's natural, if you are talented in that, then it becomes, you know, natural for you. So one of the questions that I will always ask someone who wants to go into that field is that are you a natural actor? Is it a talent or something? So if it's something that it's natural and it's in you, it's not that difficult. But again, can I say, and most people might disagree with me, ukuthi some things, there are things osithola natural as a talent, but there are things that you can actually teach yourself. I believe acting is one of those things that even if you're not naturally an actor, you can actually train yourself to be
I think
one.
there are schools for
There are schools
acting.
as well, yes, exactly. So let's not discourage everyone to say, you cannot do this. If you really, it gets difficult when it's not in you, but it's not impossible. It's doable. You can train yourself. You can attend classes. I had to attend classes as well. I don't consider myself a natural actor, but I think I'm doing enough in terms of teaching myself that field to be able to handle that business.
So did you go to school for it, or ungene through iChomi?
Iqale through iChomi. Then they introduced me to an agent. I did it from, I can say, for me it was from the bottom. It was not one of those lucky breaks whereby you just no.
Okay.
Yes, so I was introduced by a friend to an agent, an acting agent. An acting agent will have to also help you with how to attend classes. In fact, they would run classes. So the agent that I went through, they ran classes, and I attended a couple of them. So in terms of classes, I did one of those one-day courses. They still have them even today. It's those short courses, not necessarily the university route where you study drama or you study music or stage acting. It's just that we call it a workshop, and most of them they call these well-known actors to come through and to teach us, and that's what I've done. For quite some time. I did also something that I don't even mind doing even today, in my extras and so forth. That's how I started, just to get yourself exposed to the scene and to how they do things. When you are there as an extra, you get to observe what they're doing and so forth. And then you get a role whereby you are having some lines where you can also speak yourself. Then that's how you gradually improve. Yes.
Manje, being an extra, like when you go and audition, do they really make you say something like a line, maybe?
Most of the time when we talk about being an extra, it starts with you just being there without
saying anything.
So we call it background artists. So when there's a scene, like a restaurant scene, we need people that will play restaurants attendants. So they will be sitting there saying nothing or pretend to be saying something. So we don't need their voices. As an extra, we hardly do auditions for that. We just need your pics. If you face yakho is what we are looking for, then you get the
Have you
job.
ever been connected to a role that you've maybe played on TV?
Yes, there's a couple of roles that I did. They call it cameo roles, because they've got lines and you've got a character. It's not just an extra, but you've got a character. So I think one of my memorable ones will be there was a series called SABC3 called Family Secrets. I had a role there where I was playing a businessman. There's a scene that I do there. It's quite a hefty scene in terms of armor lines. So that's one of the ones I did. I did a role Mubango. They were looking for a vendor actor. I can fluently speak vendor, by the way. Then I think it was this year or last year, if I'm not mistaken. I also had a role there as one of the business clients here, MMC. Those that watch Mubango would know MMC. So those were some nice cameo roles that I did. I'm not sure when this interview will air, but there's a series going on right now ku SABC 2. It's an Afrikaans, mainly Afrikaans language, but it's got Venda as well. It's called Onsekas. It's on,
I think I've watched it last week.
Is it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's on every Sunday. It's at 7 o'clock. I think they are now on episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm on episode 9. There you will really see the acting skills, because in that episode I do quite a number of scenes, and it's quite a hectic scene. Then if you really want to see Eddie acting, don't miss out that episode. It's still coming. I think it's going to be aired sometime in July, but for those that are able to check, it's episode 9 on Sekasi every Sunday at 7 o'clock. But I'm doing a cameo role on episode 9. Yes.
And how do you manage your time? Because you said you have to travel to Mpumalanga twice a month. You have to act. Like, how do you
balance?
Yes. Yeah, you just have to be well organized. It's not easy, but you have to be well organized, especially when you speak about your acting. The problem with the acting, especially when you are still an upcoming actor, roles sometimes they come at short notice, and now you have to plan around them. So it's not easy. So you just have to keep a diary and to have good transportation, able to get you from one place to another. Yes. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's doable. Yeah.
Do you think your life changed when you became an actor? I mean, a lot of people from the streets may see you like
I think with me, I've been able to embrace it in a different way. For most actors, it comes as a surprise, or it's something that they did not plan. They become stars overnight. As I was telling you, I started doing this since 2018. So it's kind of like being a struggle in a way, because I'm still even looking for that major role. So when you've gone through that type of journey, what discover overnight, this big role, and yesterday you are unknown, tomorrow you are this big star. I think it's kind of different with me in that I'm kind of building my profile up slowly. So one thing I think I've learned to embrace is to be humble. I'm not the only one in terms of being an extra. When you're an extra, a background artist, you are not considered an actor by then. So even sometimes when you go to these settings or to a set, they don't treat you the same way they would treat other actors. So I've been in those environments whereby I've seen aspiring actors, but they're not yet there. So one thing that I've learned is that you need to be humble at all times. Even if I make it, big, because I'm even hoping it can go to an international level, I would still remember where it all began. And I think the more you remember that, the more you stay humble, the more you stay grounded. So I don't let it get to my head.
Do you think the industry is treating major actors and aspiring actors differently? Like,
they do. That's a fact. They do. So I think the solution to that, it's how the major actors should really treat the aspiring actors. I think it's up to them to make sure. So one thing that I've told myself is every time, it doesn't matter how far I get in this journey, doesn't matter how big I get in this journey, I'll always make sure when when I started this thing, I don't do it to other actors. The smaller, they call them smaller actors. So I think that's what it taught me something, because you sit there, you are not known, and there's big actors. They treat you in a way that you can see you are not valued as they are valued. You understand? And therefore, I said to myself, if I'm in their shoes, I'm not gonna treat myself or the person.
You know how it feels.
I know how it feels exactly. So, and to be quite honest, it's not everyone. It's not all the big actors that do that. But in most settings, there is that, feeling we are not the same. We're not in the same level.
Your day is coming.
Well, it's unfortunate, but then you learn from that. Then I tell myself, you know what? I'm gonna decide. I'll always be a background actor. I don't care how big I am, but I'll always treat myself as a background actor. If there's a new actor all up who figure I'm well known, I'll go sit with them, I'll go eat with them. I'm not gonna try and separate myself with them, because I've been to where they are, and how I treat them could be the difference between motivating them to get to where I am, or discouraging them to say, let me leave this thing. So it's very important how you treat them, the person next to you. And the Bible says God is not a respecter of persons. I think the lesson is that with us as well, we should be able to treat each other in a respectable way, despite of the level that they're in. Yes, I think that's the lesson.
What did you want to be? Did you ever see yourself on TV?
No, I wanted to be a doctor. There are two things that I've always wanted to do. I think at first I wanted to be a doctor, then later on I wanted to be a paramedic. Yes. Medicine, yes. I wanted to be in medicine. I really, for some other reason, enjoyed that. But for some other reason, every opportunity, everything that happened to my adult life steered me away from that direction. So I found myself where I am now. So unfortunately, where I am now is not where I wanted to be. I wouldn't say, I know I use the word unfortunate, but based on where I am now, I wouldn't say I would still want to go into medicine or anything. I might want to go into medicine in another angle, but I think that's a discussion for another day.
We are discussing it now. You wanna know?
No, what I mean by that is that when I did my theology studies, I kind of got exposed to things that I never thought existed, in the Bible, in terms of life and how we live our life. So one thing that I've learned is that the Bible is a subject, but the Bible is a book of all subjects. Yes. So when you want to learn about not just a religion, but when you want to learn about how to handle money, the Bible speaks about that. When you want to learn about history, the Bible has got history.
Please recommend a
verse. Yes, that's it's got almost every subject. So like you were saying, what the trick is in how to divide it into those subjects. One of the subjects that I've actually been open to is the subject of health and how to treat your body from a biblical perspective. Then I did research, and it started just out of fun. Then I realized that there are some health tips that exist in the Bible that really are in line with research in terms of the health department. So I mean, I'll give you an example. If you Google intermittent fasting, it's a medical discovery that has won the Nobel Peace Prize, whereby they've discovered that fasting is actually a health benefit. So you know what I mean by fasting, not eating for a certain period of time.
Manje, I'm not sure I Googled the last time because I had like chest pains and whatnot. I Googled and they had see starvation kills after maybe 30 days.
There's a difference between fasting and starvation. Fasting is when you really planned your time. Your body is designed for a number of time it can go without food. So that's what fasting is. It's a medical discovery. Maybe you should look into it because it's got some benefits in terms of the medical world. But when you study it from a biblical perspective, then you realize what the Bible has always taught about fasting. Then you realize what there's a connection. And I don't want to go too deep. I was just giving you an example. But the connection has always been there. It's just that we never saw it. I mean, one of the conversation that came up with fasting is when Jesus was being tested in Matthew chapter 4. And one of the tests was for him to turn stones into bread. Everyone knows the story. And he says, man does not live by bread alone, but also by the words that come from the Lord. So if you understand that conversation had to do with physical hunger, because he was hungry. He had just fasted for 40 days. And therefore, his response had to be in relation to his physical situation at the time. So if he's saying that man does not live by bread alone, but by the words that comes from the Lord, he's saying that, when I fast, I'm nourishing my body. It's good for my body. So when that medical discovery came up years later, the Bible had already been talking about it. So that's just one of the small examples. Now we've been taught to we must eat your fruits and your veg. It's all biblical, teachings that have always been there. But now we are discovering them through research. But if we just believed what the word of the Lord said, we would have known those things even before. So the bottom line is that I'm if possible, or if the Lord permits, I will be writing a book in the future on health benefits based on biblical study, not on the health study. So it kind of brings back Lento Bombuzayon about what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Yeah, so I'm hoping with this book can help people to live a healthy life based on the lessons of the Bible.
If you were given a chance to go back to school and become a doctor now, would you take it?
I don't think so.
Because you enjoy what you're doing
Yes.
now. Love teaching.
I love
the word
teaching.
of God.
I want to learn so much. If anything, I would want to do it more. Yes, I would want to do it more. So yeah, I don't think I would. I think sometimes we have those wishes, but at the same time, you have been called to a certain, or you've been wired, even how you were born, how you were created. It has to do with what you've been birthed to do. Yes, so there's a verse in the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah, and says to Jeremiah, I knew you before you were even born. When you were in your mother's womb, I already ordained you. In other words, God decided before you could even think what he wants you to do with your life. So once you discover that, you will realize that you've been created for that. And what I believe is that when God creates you for a certain purpose, that purpose becomes fulfilling to your life. And only when you fulfill that purpose are you then fulfilled yourself. So you might say, no, I don't want to do what God wants me to do. I want to do something else. But you've not been wired to do something else. And you'll get more fulfillment or more enjoyment in what God has called you to do, as opposed to what you think you want to do. So I wouldn't want to be a doctor.
You don't want to be a doctor?
Not really, no.
And do you think people who run away from their calling have a difficult life?
I do. I really do. Because
is it God's punishment?
No. It's not God's punishment. It's actually a good question. It's not God's punishment. It's because you've not been wired or been designed to do something else. So it becomes a challenge. You know, you are like a car that's trying to fly. The way a car has been designed to drive on the road. So it becomes natural and easier. If it's going to try and do something else, it becomes difficult and challenging. So the suffering is not because someone is trying to punish you. You are actually punishing yourself by doing something that you are not created to do. So once you understand, this is how I've been created to be able to do certain things, and you do those things, they come to you naturally, and they become easier, and they become enjoyable, fulfilling, and everything. So I think, having said that, one of the signs that you would know what you are not doing what you were called to do, or what you're supposed to do, whatever you are doing will become frustrated. Yeah, it becomes frustrated. It becomes difficult. It becomes frustrating, unsuccessful, unfulfilling as well. Then you realize, really, am I supposed to be doing this?
Now, how do you know if you have a calling?
It's difficult. It's difficult. So sometimes it can be a question of what call trial and error, whereby you try different things. So yeah.
And how do you know if it's not a calling, Amadlozi? Because people believe in ancestors and others believe in God. What if God is calling you to speak, or like preach the word of God, and then you think maybe Amadlozi?
That again, it's actually easy, but it's tricky to answer that question. The understanding is that you have been created by God, not Amadlozi. So, and the second understanding, and this is very important, when you were created by God for a reason. So from your birth, your calling is there. So Amadlozi will only, if they have any hope of being successful into bringing you to the correct calling, is if they're going to call you to the same calling that God called you to. Otherwise, they don't have much control. And it's actually a logical thinking. If God has called me to something, if whatever Amadlozi would want, it's something that they would maybe decide at a later stage, because they were not there from the beginning, but God was there from the beginning. So the second thing, I think, coming to your answer, because I've not fully answered you, is that when God calls you, he creates you according to your calling. So in other words, you are wired when everything, the way you think, the way you look, even your gender, the fact that you're female, whatever the case may be, you are wired so that you are able to fulfill whatever you were born to do. If you were born to sing, obviously God has to give you a good voice. Think about it. So then you left to decide who created you. Was it God? Was it Amadlozi? If God has created you to sing and gave you a voice, and then Amadlozi, if they choose anything else, are they able to change your physique or your creation to be able to fit what they want to call you into? It's something that you have to think about. So I think it goes back to the fact that if they don't line up, then you'll struggle in whatever you think Amadlozi has called you to do. So the bottom line is, I don't think anyone will have a problem with the fact that God is superior to everything, even whether you believe Amadlozi or not.
Do you believe in Amadlozi?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I try to give a neutral answer. I don't know if you're hearing what I'm trying to be as neutral as I possibly can. So I'm also saying to the person or believer Amadlozi, think about what I've just said. No, let's agree with God is superior.
God is
So I don't agree, but there's this thing with but uNkulunkulu namadlozi. So in other words, that saying says to me ukuthi people understand that as much as they believe kumadlozi, it can only work with amadlozi if amadlozi they are in line with uNkulunkulu. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you're gonna say amadlozi and not uNkulunkulu, you don't want the two to be against each other. So mangizothi uNkulunkulu namadlozi, it's in the assumption that these two have to work together. Why? Because uNkulunkulu, I'm giving him the lead role. And if amadlozi ngiyawakholelwa on the basis ukuthi bona bayakhona ukukhuluma noNkulunkulu. I'm not saying I believe in that, but at least let's be logical in our beliefs. Bring some kind of sense ukuthi sikuzwe ukuthi what are you saying? Because at the end of the day, uNkulunkulu, like you were asking yourself, what is there a clash between our callings? If amadlozi azokubizela into a different path than uNkulunkulu, then we have a problem. And the question is, who do you follow, amadlozi or uNkulunkulu? Then you have a problem.
And how would you advise someone who believes in God and has a calling but doesn't know how to express it or follow the calling that they've been given?
Someone who believes in God. You said someone who believes in God.
Yes. I think they have a calling, but they don't know how to express it or how to follow and do the right thing.
It's a bit of a tricky question, but I think there's ways that uNkulunkulu can be able to help us to move into the right direction. So I think we need to have that sixth sense whereby you are kind of awake to your spirituality. Over another sense, you are able to feel things or understand things or hear things, because uNkulunkulu even speaks to us. So I think meditation can help you a lot as well, whereby you really meditate and it will help you to stay into the right direction. To be true to yourself. I know ukuthi my emotions, they can be misleading, but lento ebizwa ukuthi unembeza, your conscious, wouldn't really mislead you that much. So you really have to think hard in terms of what is happening around you, because I believe ukuthi there are lots of signs and clues that are there in your life that are steering you into the right path. It's easy to ignore them, it's easy not to see them, because we are clouded by whatever is happening around us. We live in a busy world and everything. So sometimes to find time into isolation and to think about things, to think about events, why are things happening like this? Why did Uzbanban say this to me? Why am I having these dreams, these thoughts, and so forth? And again, it can be trial and error. Try something that you feel good, it might work for you. If it doesn't, you might try something else. So I don't think there's a specific answer, but also in terms of the church, we do guidance, whereby there's counselors or there's people that will do help. So in our church environment, and I would advise many churches to do this, is to have different programs whereby everyone gets involved. In those programs, we are able to pinpoint what you've been called into or what your talent is. So if you are a member of a church, whenever there's music, we get you involved. You can hear good, we are being music, understand? Sometimes you can be good music and you're not realizing it, but just by throwing you with church choir, we can hear, and we can call you on the side to say, "Do you realize that you're a good singer?" Then you go home and you think, "No, I didn't realize that." Understand? Then you say, "No, can you do a motivational talk?" And you say, "I cannot speak." We say, "No, it's just a church environment or a youth setting." Then we'll tell you, "Oh, then you know what it's not your calling." But then you can stand there and just open a verse or some motivational speaking, so the people around you are able to pinpoint. So in our church, we are able to see those things. We even do drama, especially for the kids, where they do acting and stuff. So you can discover, different talents and different gifts that people have.
How was your life before being a pastor and before acting? Were you groovies or?
I mean, I was lucky. I didn't have that life so my life was straightforward. I don't think it took much for me to discover what I wanted to do, where I was. So I mean, like I said, I started participating in church environment or church events very early on in my life in Kulele Sontweni. So I didn't have a chance to maybe into the groove and it was I've done it, but it was just so short. And so I've always kind of like straight, like one of those lives that are not that interesting, because I don't have much drama in terms of life. So it was straightforward. And I think one of the other things I can point out with that is that I have tried. I've kind of tried everything, but it never became interesting for me. I've tried drinking, it didn't work from the word start. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. So it's not like I did it for some time, then at some point I decided I want to quit. I never really went into drinking, for example. I've held a cigarette in a there's nothing fun here. Threw that thing away, never tried it again. So
have you tried smoking weed?
Yeah, I've kind of tried everything. I didn't mind.
How was it?
I'm curious now, you understand? I'm curious. So, you try those things, and I think as young people, it's okay sometimes. But I've been lucky never to get hooked in any of them or even get interested. Nightlife, I don't know, but it was never fun for me. I cannot not even stay out until the late hours. I just love my bed and going to sleep. So I know you are expecting this story, which boring. I never able to do any of those things, unfortunately. Even my family will tell you, but in my growing up, I was the one
straight. Your siblings were.
Yes.
Did you have strict parents?
Very, very strict. My parents were very strict, but I don't think for me it was because of my parents how I turned out, because my other siblings, they are okay, all of them now, but they were able to get out of hand when we were growing up. I'm in the middle, so last born Yasekaya, the first born, my sister, they've had that opportunity in their youth days to do all those things, and I was the one that would normally stay home.
Would you change anything from the past?
Not really in terms of upbringing. I wouldn't, but in terms of decision making, I think there's a lot that I would change. But I don't think. I think I would be able to change them if I was given another chance. But looking back, I think it was bound to happen the way things happened. So, because of that, I wouldn't say I've got regrets. Understand?
And I was about to ask you if you have any regrets.
I wouldn't say I have regrets per se, but let me be honest with you. If I had the chance to do it all over again, there are quite a few decisions that I would have changed in my life. For example, sometimes you will end up here. Probably you would focus more on that than in anything else. I mean, earlier on you asked me what I grew up wanting to do. If I'd known what I would be, teaching or acting or whatever. Maybe if I'd known what that's where I would end up, I would have pursued, those paths much earlier, than discovering them over time. So those are the decisions I would have changed. So, would I change anything? Yes. But do I regret anything? Not really, no.
And where do you see yourself maybe in the next 5 years? Between your acting career and being a pastor or a teacher?
In terms of my pastoring, let me start there. I think that is where I always see myself until my dying day or retirement day. So that is something that I think I'm more focused on than anything else. So that's what I want to do for the remainder of my life. If anything, I just want to teach the word of God, church wise, school wise, and so forth. So that's what I want to do. So I would want to grow that. I would want to see myself in a bigger institution in terms of teaching or building a bigger institution myself, which is something that I've already made small steps towards. So yeah, it would be nice to have a growing institution in terms of a Bible school. Then in terms of acting, I really enjoy that. And again, I'll repeat it, it's like a hobby to me. So I wouldn't mind, getting more opportunities in terms of that. And opportunities, by the way, are there for anyone who wants to be an aspiring actor. There's actually plenty of opportunities. So I'm gonna keep doing that as a side hustle, as something that I do for fun. And so I'm hoping that I'll get bigger roles in the future, even international roles. So I'm really working hard to make sure we are cool. So this interview is quite important because we're gonna play it like 5 years from now or a year from now and see.
So let's say you should say yes,
exactly. So it's going in the right direction.
Do you have any major roles that are coming, like any series, maybe movie?
Not at the moment. So what I need to be doing and what I'm lining up is I'm doing my auditions. Yes. So there's nothing specific, concrete in terms of that I'm doing. I am considering maybe doing something myself instead of just going for auditions into other things, but given as something something like this project that you guys are doing here, which is something that you started yourself. It's an entertainment type of thing. So I might want to do something similar in future that can go into the entertainment industry. Yeah, so I've considered, doing a religious show or faith-based show, something that I'm still thinking about. So I've got those options.
Maybe a role ocabanga ukuthi eyakenza ukuthi uthole amanye ama-role, like the major role.
I think funny enough, I've played a pastor in the past, as a role.
How was that, acting as a pastor? Oh, pastor.
Yeah, it's very natural. It's very simple and straightforward. I always see myself playing a doctor, and I think these are some of the roles that have been confirmed in terms of when I'm out there to say that playing a role, something like that, would actually work for you. Yeah, with the amount of channels and the amount of series on our TV, it's quite challenging to get those big roles, but it also opens up for opportunities to be there. So one thing for sure, like I said, opportunities are corner. I really don't know where it will end up, but I know there will be opportunities that will come. I think I'm also prepared to do even roles that are challenging in terms of the fact that maybe it's not something natural, something that is in me. Like I'm surprised what will come and play Sango
Out of your
You would do that.
exactly. So I think I will try that.
Yeah.
Especially if I know the whole storyline where it's leading up to. I'll try that. Yeah, but then question in general always has to do with also my beliefs, Anish. So yeah, the challenging thing about acting is that sometimes you might be asked to play a role that might be against your beliefs. So the nice things about roles is that you are not forced Goma roles.
So you'd say no?
Yeah, you can turn down roles. So I believe there are some that I can turn down if it really goes against my beliefs, or I'm promoting something that I believe is wrong. I think I can turn that down. Imali comes second.
1 million for this movie.
No, I don't. You really have to, and you really have to think of those things much. So I mean, a question like this, already I'm answering it. So when it does really happen, I already have an answer in my head. Because sometimes they can surprise you well, and if you haven't thought about it, you might get too excited and then answer something on as
because of the money.
Yeah, the only thing that can be challenging Amanyama roles is because sometimes you might not ama roles which are long in terms of their airing, like ama soap and so forth. Sometimes ama scripts of what you're going to be doing are not written down from beginning to end. They write stories as the stories are going on TV. So that can be challenging because if you're doing a soap, for example, 5 years down the line, you're playing the same role, they might write something about your role that is against what you believe. When you accepted the role initially, you didn't know what your character will end up doing 1, 2, and 3.
Manje, if it does happen like that and you are against it, would you say?
I think it has happened in the past with most series. That's why you see sometimes kenzeka ukuthi bashintshe a character. Yeah, they've got options. If they really get to a point whereby they just can't come to an understanding, either they will kill that character so that the actor ahambe, or if they need the character, they will replace, which is not favorable because people associate with a different face. So you'll find that the same character, say actor or which has happened quite a few times. I'm sure you've seen it. Sometimes bambuyise and so forth. Sometimes if the actor is big enough, they're able to say, the actor can say, I'm not going to do that. They have to rewrite the script to fit in what the actor wants. So in other words, the actor gets what they want. They don't necessarily have to do what the writer is saying. So there's many ways around it. But yeah, it can actually, it can be good, can be bad. Sometimes when there would be a bad repetition, yeah, they can do that. Then you understand what, that's how you find actors, you know, they are no longer, you no longer see them on TV. It's because of the type of maybe attitude. Sometimes very wrong. So it's also nice, you know, you must be able to take fame in a humble way. Once we tell you are bigger than the production,
upcoming actors.
yes, then people can see that and say, and remember, this industry, it's not as big in terms of, you know, the connections. We are all interconnected. You know, when I went to do Mubango, for example, it's just I got lost and I ended up Oku generation when I was walking to set. That's how close we are to each other. So they're like, no, good generations, Mubango, it's next door. So we are so interconnected that if you really have a bad attitude or not a good person to work with, the whole industry might be aware of that, and you might not get further jobs, especially if your livelihood depends on that industry.
Do you think it's better if we actor and the unenye side hustle is stable because of those type of things?
Yeah, it's always recommended. I wouldn't say necessarily acting pele, but in general in life you really need to have a backup, especially if you are in the limelight. You always have to make sure that you've got a backup plan. Things don't last forever. So as soon as the money start coming in, take that money and do something with it, or else you know, it's a backup to whatever you are doing. Don't depend on one thing. Put all your eggs in one basket.
The last nightlife, what advice would you give umuntu ogruva every day, every night, you know, smoking?
Those advices, they never seem to work for most of the time, because people, they always like to try things, especially young people.
Yeah.
There's this thing they want to try it themselves, so you tell them don't do it. So sometimes you end up, but everyone agrees. So I think, let's put it this way. Everyone often was a qiniso. Rather ask people that have done it. Not necessarily for them to advise you, but to know what they feel about it. Someone who's gone through your life, ask them, if they had to change anything, what would they change anything? Whatever answer they give about themselves is as honest as it gets. Not necessarily but who would advise you not to do this or not to do that. But if you know what they feel about what they did, it helps you to decide no, this is, you know, the best way to do it. So I'm really the least person maybe to ask that question, because I did not live that life to the fullest. But then if you had to get an advice from people that did it, they would recommend exactly what I did with my life. Would try and tone it down. You can experience it from a responsible perspective. And among the responsible would, you know, just to go and see, but in a responsible way, in a safe environment, you know, with people that you trust. Go with people that you trust and so forth, and don't do anything stupid. But preferably, you know, you don't want to do those things. It's just that as young people, it's not easy to get people out of those environments. And yeah, even at church level, we try to see if is there anything that we can do that is interesting for young people to get them away, because we know they will do it anyway. But if they've got an alternative, it will be nice.
Okay, so where can people find you on social media?
Ooh, I'm not a social media person. I'm not a social media person. I think I do have a Facebook page.
You think?
No, I know I've got it, but I'm not active in it.
Okay.
So it's not like you're gonna find me. I'm not a TikTok person or I don't even have Instagram at all. So one thing that I've realized, as you know, I'm teaching and I'm traveling around. I notice that social media can take up a lot of our time. People that are really on social media, they can spend the whole day there. So it's time consuming for me. So I think I've made a decision to stay away from social media on purpose, because I know it can consume you, it can consume your time. So I hardly participate. I think it's Eddie Mariba on Facebook. I think that's about it. So yeah.
Okay, so do you allow people to ask you for advice on social media maybe?
Yeah, I'm not anti-social media. I wanted to maybe give a correct handle, because I'm not anti-social media. So I don't mind to participate, but I'm not very active. So if Facebook is the only handle, a corner, and you will find me there. I do check it out. So if you send me messages or anything, I will find it. It's Edson Mariba, Edson. That's the name in my ID number. Okay. Although I'm nickname, well, in short, it's Eddie.
Okay.
So it's Edson, Edson Mariba. That's Facebook, and that's it.
If you guys got this far, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'd like to thank the people that are here in the room with us. Shout out to them at Kara SA, who is our director of everything, and Ulunga. Yeah. Please don't forget to follow us on every social media platform. Begala on the screen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Share this with your friends, families, dogs, cats. Yeah. Would you like to?
No problem. Thank you so much for having me today. It was an honor to be here, and I hope just by going through this interview, you'll be motivated, and you will learn something. So keep following this channel, and yeah, take care of yourself. Thank you.
Amen.
Before Siva, you mentioned something about camera roll, acting in camera, something.
It's like a guest actor.
Oh, okay.
I'm a guest.
Your son wants to give you something, so
as you know that today, guys, it's Father's Day.
So
yeah,
it's a little something.
we organize something.
It's a surprise. I didn't expect that.
As we promised that there will be
a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy.
Oh wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's my son. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a nice surprise.
It's from him and us.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, it's fine. You can open it at home. Or even here if you want.
Nice. Wow. It's even got a message. Let's stay off. Okay, so yeah, am I allowed to be jumping castle? Oh, there's more stuff here.
There's more stuff. Wow.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know about that as well.
This is nice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Uthuba bangabandi uyintanga kodwa.
Yes.
Hey, beautiful. How are you? It's okay. Relax.
Hey. So, sama tonya na wa tizini tabela mudima house. Aba was kitwa roba.
My brother, tides on the maid. Why are you being so
I am not your brother. Sky, you act as if I was able to work. You are harassing myself about the tool and now shebel.
What? Are you serious?
I'm sorry. Please excuse me.
For what? You see?
Ngani, siphela mzuzwana nje. Mzuzwana.